Hello and a warm welcome to Federal's special program, Capital Beat. Donald Trump has stormed back to White House with a strongman persona, with a vision of an all-powerful presidency, and also with a promise of aggressively resetting U.S. policies in a range of domains, including immigration, tariffs, energy. Now, President Donald Trump said that the country is currently in a decline, criticizing the education and health care system. Also, during the inaugural address, he vowed to bring change very quickly. Now, from Mars to Mexico, Trump announced big plans for his new presidency. And he slammed also the Biden administration in his inaugural address. And he said that he failed to manage simple crisis at home. But the big points, if you look at, of course, he spoke about reaching Mars. Then he spoke about the changing the name of Gulf of Mexico. He spoke about bringing tariffs and taxes. Then he also spoke about a separate external revenue service department, which is going to collect all the revenue which is going to come from the various nations through the trade and tariffs, through the tariffs and the taxes which he is going to impose. Then he spoke about free expression, that he will bring back the free speech to America. Then he spoke about only two genders, that is male and female. And then he also spoke about various other things, like he said that he'll transform America into a manufacturing nation. Then he declared an energy emergency. That is also another thing. Then at the Gulf, at the Mexican border, also there is an emergency. He's vowed to bring down inflation and prices. Then he said he also spoke about a revolution of common sense. Now, all this as it translates, but what does it mean for India? What does it mean for the world? Do we need to be cautious? And the biggest question on everybody's mind is that Trump has been known to be an unpredictable president. And with that kind of an unpredictability quotient, do the nations need to take a cautious approach now? All this we'll try and discuss over the next 30 minutes. Joining me now is former Supreme Court Judge Justice Markandey Katju. So thank you so much for joining on the Federal. We have Professor Aftab Kamal Pasha, who's been a diplomat, and he's also an international affairs expert. So thank you so much for joining. And we have S Srinivasan, who's the editor-in-chief of the Federal Group. Srini sir, thank you so much for joining. And I'll begin with Professor Aftab Pasha. That how would you look at Trump's inaugural address? Of course, it was quite bombastic, but how much will he be able to implement, according to you?
Yeah, you highlighted many of the points in his inaugural speech and address, which I think major part of it concerns the domestic issues which he's going to focus. While listening and reading his speech in full, I have noted down, with your permission, 3-4 sentences I would like to read, which have global implications and on India. He said, I will do everything possible to make the world more peaceful and safe. This is a big statement from what the previous administration was doing. Then he said he will be America's foremost peacemaker and unifier. This also has a great significance. He has also said, I will take the United States to new heights of victory and success. Okay. And then he has talked about the golden age of America begins right now. And he also says, from this day forward, our country will flourish and to be respected again all over the world. We will be envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. So all these are great statements coming from a person who can easily be dubbed as a great visionary. But during his electoral campaigning, he had raised heckles, and the world was worried. All his statements from Greenland to Mexico to Panama Canal, Canada, tariffs, etc., etc. People were worried. But I think his slogan to make America great is dependent on how great he makes America internally, economically. Because if repeatedly he's been using this from the first term, which means there is a problem within America. I've been there visiting 6 months for the last 5 years because that is the maximum a person can stay on tourist visa. From end to end, I have visited from California to New York, from Minnesota to Texas. I've lived in all of these places. And, the inflation is a major botheration for Americans. Second one is these wars from Afghanistan to Libya and from Syria, Iraq, and other wars, have taken a heavy toll on the American society. My brother is a psychiatrist in Omaha, in Nebraska. He tells me that people, not only soldiers, veterans, but also their parents, the children, they come even now for treatment, that they cannot sleep well and they get nightmares, and they need long term treatment. So I came across hundreds and thousands of people still who have not recovered from American action in Afghanistan, Iraq, and other combat areas. And healthcare is a major concern and botheration for these people, apart from the price rise and rents or etc. So, and also the debt, American debt has been rising to phenomenal level. More than $37 trillion of debt America owes, and nearly $800 billion plus they pay as interest. So this is taking a very heavy toll. And when he says no more wars and global peace and peaceful and safe world, which means he is very serious about putting an end to this war, American involvement in Ukraine, and the unnecessary weapons and money they have to give to Israel to make it safe and secure in a region with which it has fought several wars. And also, I think he has made very clear to Iran that we need a new nuclear deal, which will satisfy both the parties instead of buying Netanyahu's idea of attacking and destroying nuclear plants in Iran and Iranian retaliation in the Gulf region, where American presence is there in 8 countries, which would affect India very badly. So, in that way, his idea of bringing peace and working for no more war policy is a welcome development, and it will have a cascading effect on many regions where America has directly got involved in unnecessary wars, which have led to calls for withdrawal of American troops, not only from the Gulf region, but also from many African countries where China is making inroads. So China remains a threat, but if he can manage to have good bilateral relations coming to an understanding, because you see, America promised that Taiwan would be part of mainland China, 1971 during Nixon Mao meeting. But America has gone back on that promise, and they have been provoking China by giving weapons and recognition and doing all sorts of things, denying the Chinese control over Taiwan. So, in that way, if they can resolve the issue, the Americans tried everything through Hong Kong, through Uyghurs, through Tibet, through economic sanctions to break China-Russia alliance. It hasn't worked, and neither through Ukraine. And China is on the rise. There is absolutely no doubt about it. Neither the United States on its own or the EU will be able to contain a rising China. That is a fact of life. We also have to live with this uncomfortable fact. So, in that way, the United States needs peace, not only for its consolidation after being battered from all these wars and mismanagement of the economy, but also it will be much relief for countries like India, which are now increasingly under pressure from the United States to be on their side, which
Right.
we don't want to identify. We are looking for a safer approach to mobilize the global south behind the BRICS, and we look forward to strengthening that.
Right. All right. Let me come to Justice Katju now. That Justice Katju, how do you see Trump's return to power for the second time? Now, if is the world going to be more dangerous? Will the world be more balanced? Will the world be more isolationist? How do you see that?
First, you have to go back into history, and then only you will understand the situation today. See, in the 1930s and early 1940s, the biggest danger to the world was not from America or Britain or France. It was from Hitler. It was from Nazi Germany. Why? Because Nazi Germany was expanding imperialism. You see, Britain and French were on the defensive. They did not want to conquer other countries. Britain and France only wanted to hold on to the colonies. Whereas Hitler wanted to expand and conquer other countries and keep on conquering until he conquered the whole world. So expanding imperialism is more dangerous than defensive imperialism. Britain and French were defensive imperialism. Nazi Germany was expanding and aggressive imperialism. So expanding imperialism is more dangerous than defensive imperialism. Today, China is expanding imperialism. America is not the danger. America does not want to conquer the whole world. China does. Chinese, they built up a massive industrial base. And once you build up a massive industrial base, you have to have markets for the goods which you sell. So domestic market is saturated. You have to go into other countries, capture their markets. Like for instance, why did Britain come into India? Not for a picnic, but because they wanted to capture the Indian market, get Indian raw material and so on. That is imperialism. So China is expanding imperialism. They have built up a massive industrial base. They have a huge foreign exchange reserve, trillions of dollars, looking hungrily for avenues for investment. So they have entered India, for instance. Most of the telecom market in India has been captured by the Chinese. Many other sectors of the Indian economy have been captured by Chinese. In Pakistan, they have captured large parts of the economy of Pakistan. They have captured the economies of African countries, even South American countries. They are everywhere. They are expanding more and more, like Nazi Germany. So they are the biggest danger to the world. And what Trump has done, he has taken on the Chinese. Even in his first term, he said we will not permit this Chinese expansionism. Chinese had imposed 25% tariffs on import of American cars into the Chinese market. 25% tariff. But Chinese cars were selling in American market with only 2.5% tariff. He said this is not fair. We get only 2.5% tariff. You take 20. He said, and he started imposing tariffs. This is what he's going to do this time also. So, Mr. Professor Aftab and Mr. Srinivasan, please understand certain basic concepts, but you don't even know basic concepts. That expanding imperialism is more dangerous than defensive imperialism. China today is like Hitler Germany. They are expanding. They are wanting to capture everywhere. If you go into detail, I can tell you so many sectors of the Indian economy they have penetrated and various other countries. They have captured the ports in Pakistan, that Gwadar port or whatever it is called. In Sri Lanka, they have captured the ports infrastructure, that Belt and Road Initiative. So they are expanding more and more, and they are the biggest danger of the world. And Trump is the person who has confronted that danger. He has realized the danger, and he is facing it. He said he will impose tariffs on China. This is the fundamental thing why I am supporting Trump. I am supporting Trump because he is facing the biggest danger to the world, that is Chinese expansive and aggressive imperialism. And
Right.
secondly, I'm supporting Trump because uh, see, immigration, he's right that why should there be illegal immigration? He's not against legal immigration. He said many times that I'm not against illegal immigration. But why should 12 million people, Mexicans, get into America and then they
All
resort
right.
to crime? And
Yes.
thirdly, uh, because of him, there's peace in the Middle East. Now there's going to be peace in this Ukraine war. So he realized that this war is bad for business. So that is why I am supporting Trump. What he's doing, I think, is right. Thank you.
All right. Now, let me come to S. Srinivasan, sir. That Srini, sir, from India's perspective, if you look at the things, do you think that the challenges are now bigger as far as Indo-US relations are concerned, and also as far as Prime Minister Modi's relations with Donald Trump are concerned? What are the challenges now which you see in the coming months or the coming years? You'll have to unmute, sir. I think you're muted. Yes.
Yeah, your question is specifically about India. Before that, let me just say a few things. One is there's a very strong perception that America is on the decline and it's a declining global power, and China is on the rise. I think what Trump has decided to do is to try and correct or reverse this perception by giving a very strong message to the globe that America will fight what it considers, and from his perspective, what he considers is a rightful thing to do in the global theater. And that's what he is asserting when he spoke about various issues there. Uh, and he also addressed the domestic audience because, as Pasha pointed out, there is economy is, the prices are a matter of concern. They want lower gas prices and lower grocery prices in the US. So those are the two issues in which he has focused. Globally, of course, like America is, like I said, is trying to regain its position, which was perceived as lowering. Though China is on the rise, it is not as if America is going down anywhere. See, in the case of West Asia recently, Israel kind of acted as a proxy for US and managed to break the axis which was forming between Iran, China and Russia. It managed to break that. China was keeping quiet, but it was Russia, Iran, and by sending away Assad into kind of an exile. So they did manage that. And America continues to be the richest country in the world. None of this has gone, but yes, he wants to reassert and retrade these issues. As far as India is concerned, I think India is in a good position. I don't think, of course, there were speculations over Modi's personal equation with Trump, and he did not invite him. Those things apart, it did happen because Trump does take things personally. He had spoken about him in September when Modi was visiting during the campaign, and Trump did mention that my friend Modi is going to come and see me, and it didn't happen. So probably that would have been one of the reasons. But I think in a larger scenario, India is better placed because India is required in this diplomatic, global game. And I think America also understands India's position. It has, the previous administrations have been understanding India's position vis-a-vis the global situation. The Biden administration, or even earlier, there are no objections, explicitly India having a relationship with the continued relationship with Russia or other powers. I think in some sense they also find it useful to have some kind of a bridge with the other part of the world. And the other earlier thing is, over the years, India is coming closer to United States. Subsequent presidents after Clinton have been backing India. They need also India because to push, a better trade relation for defense hardware, for even automobiles. Elon Musk's Tesla, it requires some besides its presence in Chinese market, it also would like to enter Indian market and does require this presence here. So I think from all this perspective, China, India, and America, what kind of equations developed. I mean, at this point of time, it's not so much focus on India. Basically, he's focusing more on Europe, West Asia, China, and India happens to be a kind of a player here who I think America will have a benign position on that. So I don't think, but yes, on trade relation, we have to be cautious because there'll be hard bargaining. They will, Americans will push already in the Trump 1.0. They have, withdrawn GSP concession. So there we have to be watchful and see what our rights are and how we can maintain our independence.
Right. I'll come to Professor Pasha now. That the presence of the technocrats, the tech giants yesterday, from Mark Zuckerberg to Tim Cook to Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, all of them were present along with Donald Trump, and giving a strong indication that there'll be a lot of involvement now of these tech giants, and with Elon Musk now almost heading the Department of Efficiency. How do you think will the things or the developments unfold for America and also for other countries? Will they have a big say? Will it lead to a new kind of an oligarchy, which we are going to see? And also Joe Biden pointed that out in his farewell address. So how do you see that panning out?
No, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind why Donald Trump has chosen Elon Musk for the task he has identified, that is to cut government expenditure. But this again will not go well with his policy to make America great. If federal funds are cut for education, care, infrastructure, and to whatever developmental policies the states pursue, even disaster management. This cutting of expenditure involves all of these sectors where most states are struggling. There are only few states which are rich and contributing to the federal coffers, whether it is California, Texas, New York, and Minnesota, and a few others. The majority of the states depend on federal grants for education, for healthcare, for infrastructure, for a variety of purposes. If under the influence or recommendation from Elon Musk, if Donald Trump cuts down government expenditure, this will have a negative impact, and the middle class, which is already struggling.
Justice Katju, there are a lot of concerns around the fact that with so much power now vested in Donald Trump, could we see some kind of a democratic backsliding or some kind of an institutional capture? Or do you think that that's not going to happen in America, or it can't happen? Yes, Justice Katju.
Well, I can't say any comment about that, because for that we have to see what comes in the future. But so far as India is concerned, Trump does not seem to be happy with India because he did not invite Mr. Modi for the inauguration. And that is a message which is being sent that he is not happy. Earlier it was thought that Modi and Trump are very close to each other, but that does not seem to be correct. And perhaps the reason which I could understand is, you see, there are two big alliances in the world today. On the one hand, there is USA and Europe. On the other hand, there's Russia and China. And these are hostile to each other. And India had gone over to the American camp. Mr. Modi had taken India to the American camp. But of late, he has also started going towards Russia. He went to attend the BRICS meeting in Russia. And BRICS is an organization which is very hostile to America. It is dominated by Russia and China, and they want to abolish the dollar as the international currency and all that. So Americans are not happy with Mr. Modi over this. It has nothing to do with personal. After said it is because personal relationship. It has nothing to do with it. But you have to. The foreign policy are dictated by the interests of the nation, not by emotions or personal relationships, etc. So it is because of that um, perhaps that is the reason why Mr. Modi has not been invited by Trump for the inauguration. So let us see how things develop.
Srini, so how do you think that now? I mean, what are the things which should really concern India and as well as the world? He's spoken about trade. He's spoken about tariffs. He's spoken about taxes. But what, according to you, are going to be the major challenges on which we have to be very, very cautious?
I think climate change is a major challenge. What you see around California and also rest of the world, climate is a matter of great concern. The global warming is happening. In fact, there was there was an attempt to reduce it below 2 degrees, but it seems to be crossing threshold of 1.5 already. So it's a situation which need to be taken into consideration. And Trump has clearly said that we are out of, he's completely walking out of the Paris Accord, which means a multilateral organization where the rich countries, developed countries are supposed to pay so that there is a carbon capture and other things happen in developing countries. And you increase, lesser use of fossil fuels. These are very important issues. I think he's opted out of that completely, and in fact, he's encouraging a lot more fossil fuel by saying that we should be digging more and taking gas out of what is there in the US and be a biggest exporter. Also, the developed nations have this position that we are not a polluter. It's the developing countries which are like China and India, which are the major polluters. If you look at per capita consumption of power, which is far, far higher than in US and developed countries. India is some 60 times more than what we are in India. So we are nowhere near those levels. And when we are at a threshold of development and we are begin to use energy, and we need a lot of energy to improve our GDP, if the polluters, the biggest polluters, who in the past have been the developing countries, and they're not willing to pay for that, that will be very unfortunate. So by opting out of Paris Accord, the signal he's straight away sending that America is not going to fund those initiatives, and if that signal will go to other developed countries also. So I think that's the biggest concern which environmentalists will have. How to mitigate the situation. The second issue is going to be trade. Look, the trade things goes two ways. Immigrants, if they are pulled out, with 13 million immigrants in America, if many of them are sent out, and I'm sure there must be a plan, but I don't know how it is going to be implemented. It's going to cause havoc in American, life as well. The construction industry and other industries are very much dependent on these labor, which is the labor force. Yes, criminalization, other things, what he's saying, people would agree to him. And the fact that whole lot of Latinos and the other groups have also supported him. But obviously, the whole thing is that he will be able to manage it in a rule-based manner. That's what is expected. The immigration will have an impact. Whatever he does on the economy of the US, and he's trying to fix that economy by saying these things. So basically, these are the two big concerns: environment and the trade.
Right.
Two things.
And one more
Third,
bit.
as far as
Sorry, so no, you go ahead, and then I'll ask you the question.
On the third point, which is saying that he wants to bring peace toward, I think that's a welcome thing, and he perhaps is want to use force to do that, as you have seen in the case of he had warned that before he takes his office on January 20, there should be truce between Hamas and Israel, and which seemed to have happened. Similarly, yesterday, I think the Ukrainians have sent in a signal that they are willing to talk, they are willing to smooth peace pipe, and they have also sought India's help in that. That's another important development. See, in 2024, and when Trump left, the world is very different than what it was when he left and what it is now. And these two major wars have been ravaging, and he's decided to take an initiative because a whole lot of American resources and even in the past soldiers are involved. I think that's a good development, because if war comes to an end in these two places, it will help the globe overall. But he has other outstanding issues, Iran and others. Yeah, please.
Right. One quick bit on America now. Like Donald Trump has announced that he's going to withdraw. He will withdraw from the WHO. Now, what does it mean as far as the health governance is concerned, globally as well as for America? How do you think that's going to really impact? Because that's also one of the major orders which he has signed.
Are you asking me?
Yes, Srinivasan, and then I'll go for the concluding
So
comment.
there are two issues. Yes, one is withdrawal from WHO, which he is very unhappy with the way WHO, and other things dealt during coronavirus. And he has also said that, the American soldiers who refuse to take, the vaccine, they should not be, they should be pardoned for, violating that. He said that yesterday. I think that is one of the executive orders which he is going to sign. The other thing is, it will be interesting to note how the health, the pharma industry gets backing from the new regime, because they're going to have a new, secretary for pharma, and how he's going to deal with the pharmaceutical industries. And it's an interesting thing to notice, because the pharma is really a very big industry in the US, and how Trump is going to handle that is a big issue, which is wide open. I think, WHO, you cannot suddenly dismiss it as if it wasn't useful at all. It was, though it failed to, there was a suspicion that during coronavirus, it failed in putting enough pressure on, China to come out with full truth on whether the virus had its origin in that country. WHO, he had his growl because he probably felt that WHO wasn't performing its job. But then completely ending by a multilateral institution, whether that's a solution, I'm not very sure. Yeah.
All right. So I'll come for the concluding remarks to Justice Katju, that what would you really say now? Trump's return to power, and more powerful, of course, Trump, what does it mean according to you, and towards the end? Yes, Justice Katju.
Well, as I said, that I look at it from a broader perspective than Srinivasan or Professor Aftab Pasha. They have not even considered what I said. That biggest danger to the world today is China, and Trump is courageously confronting China, because Chinese they are expanding imperialism. Like Hitler, at one time Hitler was the danger, not British or French imperialism, because British and French were defensive imperialism. Hitler's imperialism was expanding imperialism. So expanding imperialism is more dangerous than defensive imperialism, because it is aggressive imperialism. It wants to conquer other countries. Britain and French only wanted to hold on to their colonies, not conquer other countries. But Hitler wanted to conquer the whole world. So similarly, Chinese today are expanding imperialism. They are everywhere. Mr. Srinivasan, when not knowing where Chinese have penetrated, almost full of Africa they have captured. South America, which was under the Monroe Doctrine, it was supposed to be a reserve for America. But Chinese entered there, thereby undermining the Monroe Doctrine. Whole of Asia, in every country, the Chinese have penetrated. And on a very large scale, they are expanding everywhere. They've got a huge $3.4 trillion foreign exchange reserve, which is a huge amount angrily looking for avenues for investment. They are capturing market. If when they capture a market, that means for the local industrialists, the local industrialists will not have any market, so local industry will collapse. Like, for example, telecom market is largely have Chinese over in many sectors of the economy. S Srinivasan should do some research working on this. You should understand Chinese are expanding imperialism like Hitler. They are the main danger, and therefore Trump is bravely confronting them, and that is why I'm supporting Trump. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so we'll have to wait and watch how things unfold. But of course, challenging times ahead, and a lot of cautious approach is needed as far as India is concerned. Thank you so much, Justice Katju. Srinivasan sir, thank you so much for joining. And one appeal to the viewers:
Thank you.
this discussion, subscribe to our channel, send us a feedback, and stay tuned to the Federal.